My sister invited me on a family vacation, but I was just the babysitter, so I took matters into my own hands. The email sat in my inbox for 3 days before I finally opened it. The subject line read, "Megan, surprise. Beach vacation. Just us girls." I knew it was from Sarah without even looking at the sender. My sister had a way of making everything sound like a commercial for happiness, complete with exclamation points that felt more like commands than expressions of joy. I hovered over the delete button. Our last conversation 6 months ago had ended with her criticizing my lack of direction in life while simultaneously asking if I could loan her money for her kitchen renovation. The usual Sarah special, judgment wrapped in a request for favors. But curiosity got the better of me. I clicked. "Megan, I've been doing a lot of thinking about us lately. I know we haven't always been close, and that's partly my fault. I want to change that. I've booked a week at the Oceanic Paradise Resort in Maui, just you and me. Well, Jason and the kids will be there too, but they'll do their own thing. This is about us reconnecting as sisters. I miss you. I miss who we used to be. Please say yes? Most expenses covered, my treat. Call me. Love, Sarah." I read it 3 times, each time with increasing disbelief. Sarah and I had never been close. As children, she was the golden child, student council president, homecoming queen, the daughter who made our parents beam with pride. I was the awkward one, the one who preferred books to people and who never quite figured out how to fit in. Our childhood consisted of Sarah reminding me of my shortcomings while simultaneously asking to borrow my things. As adults, our relationship had devolved into obligatory birthday calls and tense holiday gatherings where she'd inevitably find a way to mention how successful Jason's law practice was, how gifted her children were, and ask pointed questions about my still single status and my cute little apartment. So why now? Why this sudden desire to reconnect? I set my phone down and gazed out the window of my 1-bedroom apartment. The view wasn't much, just the brick wall of the adjacent building, but it was mine. After years of struggling through college while working full-time, I'd finally landed a decent job as a graphic designer. Not spectacular, but stable. I had my own place, a few close friends, and enough disposable income to treat myself occasionally. I wasn't living the highlight real life that Sarah curated for social media, but I was content. Yet something about her invitation tugged at a long-buried hope. Maybe she had changed. Maybe she finally saw me as an equal, not just her less successful little sister. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of the relationship I'd always wanted with her. My phone rang, startling me out of my thoughts. Sarah's name flashed across the screen. "Did you get my email?" Her voice was breathless with excitement when I answered. "Please tell me you'll come. The resort has 5 pools, Megan. 5. And a private beach access. The spa treatments alone would cost a fortune anywhere else." "I don't know, Sarah," I replied cautiously. "A whole week together? We haven't spent more than a few hours in the same room since Dad's retirement party, and that didn't exactly go well." The memory of her criticizing my gift to our father in front of everyone still stung. "That's exactly why we need this." She lowered her voice to that sincere tone she used when trying to sell something, usually herself. "Look, I know I haven't been the best sister. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching lately, and I realize I've taken you for granted. You're the only sister I have, Megan. I don't want to wake up at 50 and realize we're strangers." I remained silent, surprised by the emotion in her voice. "The kids miss their Aunt Megan," she continued, her voice softening further. "They always talk about how you're the fun one, the creative one. Jason's parents can't watch them that week, and we've already booked everything. Having you there would mean the world to us. To me." There it was, the real reason. She needed someone to help with the kids. But even as skepticism flared, I couldn't completely dismiss the warmth I felt at her words. The creative one. The fun one. Had her children really said that about me? "I don't know if I can take the time off work," I hedged, though I knew I had vacation days accumulated. "It's in 3 weeks," Sarah pressed. "Please, Megan? I'm trying here. I really am." I sighed, feeling the familiar pull of hope. "Let me check with my boss and get back to you." Yes, she squealed, as if I'd already agreed. You won't regret it. We'll have spa days and beachside cocktails and those long talks like we used to have when we shared a room. Remember how we'd stay up whispering after Mom told us to go to sleep? I did remember, though those nights were rarer than she implied. But I also remembered how it felt during those brief moments when we were just sisters, sharing secrets and dreams. I'll let you know tomorrow, I promised. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and looked up the Oceanic Paradise Resort. It was even more luxurious than Sarah had described, an exclusive beachfront property with world-class amenities, gourmet dining, and activities ranging from sunset cruises to waterfall hikes. The kind of place I'd never be able to afford on my own. I clicked through the photo gallery. Infinity pools overlooking the ocean, private cabanas, elegant suites with balconies. A vacation like this would be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And maybe, just maybe, it could be the fresh start our relationship needed. The next morning, I requested the time off. By afternoon, it was approved. With only the slightest tremor of doubt, I called Sarah. I'm in, I said, trying to match her enthusiasm. Her joyful scream made me hold the phone away from my ear. This is going to be amazing. I've already made a list of everything we're going to do. I'll text you all the details. As I hung up, a genuine smile spread across my face. Despite our history, despite all the reasons to be cautious, I allowed myself to believe. This could be the turning point, the beginning of the sister relationship I'd always wanted but never had. I should have known better. I really should have. The flight to Maui was a dream, even in economy. I spent 6 hours imagining walks on the beach with Sarah, heart-to-heart conversations over tropical drinks, and maybe even confidential whispers about her marriage to Jason. Despite our rocky past, I pictured us returning home with a renewed bond, the kind of sisterhood I'd always envied in others. By the time we touched down in paradise, I was genuinely excited. Sarah and her family had arrived the day before, and she'd texted that she would meet me in the hotel lobby. I stepped out of the taxi into the magnificent open-air entrance of the Oceanic Paradise Resort, where fragrant plumeria blossoms scented the air and staff greeted arrivals with fresh orchid leis. Aunt Megan. 3 high-pitched voices broke through the tranquil atmosphere before I could even take in the stunning ocean view beyond the lobby. Sarah's children, Emma, 8, Tyler, 6, and Lily, 4, barreled toward me, a chaotic whirlwind of energy and sticky fingers. I braced myself as they collided with my legs, already noticing the chocolate smears on Tyler's face and what looked suspiciously like ketchup in Lily's hair. Where was Sarah? Hey, kiddos. I managed, looking around for my sister. Where's your mom? Getting a massage, Emma announced, rolling her eyes in a perfect imitation of her mother. She said you'd be here to take us swimming. A massage? Already? I checked my watch. It was barely noon. I'd just spent 6 hours in a cramped airplane seat while apparently my sister was already enjoying the spa treatment we were supposed to experience together. Aunt Megan, I want ice cream, Lily whined, tugging at my shirt with sticky fingers. Mom said you'd get us lunch, Tyler added, bouncing on his toes. I want chicken fingers. I was still absorbing this information when a resort staff member approached with a tablet. Ms. Mitchell, your sister left this for you. He handed me a resort-branded envelope. Inside was a key card and a handwritten note on hotel stationery. * Megan. So glad you made it. We're in the Hibiscus Suite, map attached, but don't worry about finding us right away. Jason and I booked couples massages, and then we're doing a private sunset sailing trip. So romantic. The kids have been dying to see you. They've been bouncing off the walls waiting. I've already ordered your lunch by the family pool. Just tell them you're with the Mitchell party. The kids aren't allowed in the adult pool area, but the family pool has a great splash zone they love. Your room is right next to ours, the Plumeria room. It's not as big as the suite, but still nice. We figured you wouldn't need much space, since you'll probably be with us most of the time anyway. I've signed the kids up for the Keiki Club activities tomorrow morning, so we can have that spa day I promised. See you at dinner, 7 p.m. at the Ocean Terrace restaurant. The kids will probably be exhausted by then, so you might want to order room service with them instead. Can't wait to catch up. Love, Sarah *. I read the note twice, my initial disbelief morphing into a cold realization. Next to the note was a meticulously detailed itinerary labeled Kids Activities, with my name penciled in next to each item. Ms. Mitchell. The staff member was still waiting patiently. Your sister mentioned you'd be supervising the children. Would you like me to escort you to the family pool? Before I could respond, Tyler grabbed my free hand. Come on, Aunt Megan. I want to go down the water slide. I need to go potty, Lily announced, doing a little dance. Emma sighed dramatically. Mom said we have to stay with you all day. The weight of Sarah's deception crashed down on me. This wasn't a sisterly bonding trip. This was a bait-and-switch, and I'd fallen for it completely. I was nothing more than free childcare, conveniently available so my sister and her husband could enjoy a romantic vacation. Excuse me, I said to the staff member, struggling to keep my voice steady. Can you tell me where I can find my sister? Mrs. Mitchell and her husband are in the Serenity Spa. They have the couple's paradise package booked until 3 p.m., followed by the sunset sail at 4:30. Would you like me to leave a message for them? No, I replied, a strange calm settling over me. That won't be necessary. I looked down at the three expectant faces. Despite my anger at Sarah, these kids weren't to blame. Let's get you some lunch, I said, forcing a smile. The family pool was chaos incarnate. Dozens of shrieking children, harried parents, and overwhelmed teenagers clearly in the same position as me, roped into watching someone else's kids. I settled the children at a table with their lunch while I picked at a mediocre salad, my phone clutched in my hand as I drafted and deleted multiple scathing texts to my sister. Aunt Megan, watch me, Tyler shouted, running toward the pool before I could stop him. No running, I called out, jumping up to chase after him. Just as I reached him, Lily started wailing because she'd dropped her ice cream cone. For the next 4 hours, I wrangled the 3 overtired, overstimulated children through swimming, bathroom breaks, snack demands, and minor emergencies. By 5 o'clock, I was soaked, exhausted, and had not seen a single glimpse of Sarah or Jason. When I finally managed to get the kids back to the suite to shower and change, I found a text from Sarah. Having such an amazing time. The sailing was magical. We made dinner reservations at the adults-only restaurant instead. Hope that's okay. There's a kids' movie night at the club from 6 to 9 if you want to drop them there, or order room service. Room charges go to our account. Love you. THX for being the best sister ever. I stared at the message, a slow burn of anger igniting something else within me. Determination. If Sarah thought I was going to spend my hard-earned vacation time being her unpaid nanny, she had severely underestimated me. As Lily tugged on my arm asking for the 5th time when her mom was coming back, a plan began to form in my mind. Sarah had manipulated me into this situation, but that didn't mean I had to play by her rules. 2 could play this game, and I was about to change the rules entirely. After getting the kids settled with room service and a Disney movie, I finally had a moment to myself. I sat on the balcony of my modest Plumeria room, which had a partial ocean view mostly blocked by the neighboring building. The contrast between my accommodations and Sarah's lavish suite was just another reminder of how she viewed our relationship. I took a deep breath of the salt-tinged air and opened the resort app on my phone. If Sarah thought this vacation was going to go according to her carefully planned itinerary, she was about to be severely disappointed. First, I scrolled through the resort's extensive activity offerings. Sarah had texted that she and Jason would be attending a sunset cocktail event at the rooftop bar, followed by a late dinner. That meant they wouldn't be back until at least 11 p.m. Perfect. I booked myself for an 8 a.m. private yoga session on the beach, followed by a 9:30 a.m. deep tissue massage, the exact time Sarah had noted on her itinerary that I should be taking the kids to their swimming lessons. I added a 12 p.m. whale watching excursion, a 3 p.m. mixology class, and finally, a sunset horseback ride along the shoreline. A small voice of guilt whispered in my ear, "What about the kids?" I pushed it aside. They weren't my children, and I hadn't signed up to be their caretaker. But I wasn't heartless. I switched to the resort's child care services page. Aloha Childcare, professional nannies and supervised activities for keiki of all ages. the page announced cheerfully. The prices made me wince. $30 per hour per child, with a 4-hour minimum. For all 3 children, that would cost Sarah over $360 for just the morning. I smiled as I tapped the Book Now button. I arranged for a nanny to arrive at the suite at 7:45 a.m., with instructions to take the children to all their scheduled activities. I made sure to note that all charges should be billed to the Mitchell Suite account. By the time I finished, I had secured childcare for the entire day. My phone pinged with a text from Sarah. "Kids in bed? Jason and I are having the best time. See you in the morning for breakfast before you take them to swim class." I typed back, "Kids are great. All settled in for the night. Have fun. No need to tip my hand just yet." With that settled, I turned my attention to my appearance. If I was going to reclaim my vacation, I was going to look the part. I unpacked the sundresses and swimsuits I'd brought, selecting a flowing turquoise maxi dress for dinner. Sarah might have planned for me to hide away with the kids, but I had other ideas. The Ocean Terrace restaurant was bustling when I arrived, with tables of well-dressed couples and families enjoying the balmy evening and spectacular ocean views. I gave the hostess my name, and she led me to a table for one at the far edge of the terrace, practically hidden behind a large potted plant. "Excuse me," I said, stopping the hostess with a warm smile. "I prefer something with a better view, if possible." She hesitated. "All our premium tables are reserved or occupied." I spotted an empty table for 2 right at the railing, with an unobstructed view of the sunset. "What about that one? That's reserved for me," came a deep voice from behind us. I turned to see a man about my age, tall with sun-bronzed skin and friendly eyes. But I'd be happy to share. "It seems a shame for anyone to miss this view." The hostess looked between us uncertainly. "I'm Daniel," he continued, extending his hand to me. "Here for the marine biology conference. And eating alone isn't nearly as fun as having company." Perhaps it was the lingering sting of Sarah's manipulation, or the perfect timing of the golden sunset, but in that moment, I decided to embrace the unexpected. "I'm Megan," I replied, taking his hand. "And I'd love to join you." Over fresh mahi-mahi and tropical cocktails, I found myself sharing the whole sordid story with Daniel. He was an attentive listener, his expressions shifting from disbelief to outrage on my behalf. "So you're telling me," he summarized, "that your sister lured you to Hawaii under false pretenses, stuck you with her 3 kids, and is now off enjoying a romantic getaway with her husband while you're supposed to be the unpaid help." Put so bluntly, it sounded even worse. "Pretty much. And your plan is to book yourself amazing activities while hiring professional childcare on her dime?" I nodded, suddenly unsure. Too harsh. Daniel leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. "I think it's brilliant. But if you really want to drive the point home, you might need a few accomplices." "What do you mean?" He gestured around the restaurant. "The conference I'm attending has about 50 marine biologists, conservationists, and oceanographers from around the world. We're all here for the week, and most of us are looking for fun between sessions." His eyes twinkled mischievously. "How would your sister feel if her wallflower little sister suddenly had an entourage of interesting new friends in all the exclusive areas of the resort?" The idea was delicious. Sarah had always prided herself on being the social butterfly, the one with connections and friends in high places. The thought of her face if I suddenly appeared with a group of accomplished professionals at the same adults-only venues she was frequenting. "I think," I said slowly, raising my glass, "that would be the perfect addition to my plan." Daniel clinked his glass against mine. "Consider it done. We have a welcome reception tomorrow night at the Sunset Lounge. Rumor has it it's the most exclusive spot in the resort. Very hard to get into unless you're with the right crowd." He winked. By the time dinner ended, not only had I secured an invitation to the reception, but Daniel had introduced me to 3 of his colleagues who happened to be dining nearby. We exchanged numbers, and they enthusiastically embraced the idea of helping me execute my payback plan. Back in my room, I laid out my outfit for the morning and set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. I wanted to be long gone before Sarah came looking for her convenient babysitter. As I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't help but smile. Tomorrow, the real vacation would begin, and Sarah's perfect getaway was about to hit some very unexpected turbulence. The next morning, I woke before my alarm, energized by anticipation rather than obligation. I slipped out of my room at 6:45 a.m., leaving no note, just a trail of my perfume in the hallway. The early morning air was sweet with plumeria as I strolled to the beachfront cafe, treated myself to a leisurely breakfast of fresh papaya and coconut pancakes, and sipped Kona coffee while watching the sunrise paint the sky in watercolor hues of pink and gold. At 7:30 a.m., my phone began vibrating incessantly.
Sarah.
I silenced it with a smile and continued enjoying my peaceful breakfast. By 7:50 a.m., I'd received 12 texts and 5 missed calls. Where are you? Kids are up. Hello? We need to leave for breakfast in 10 minutes. Megan, answer your phone. This isn't funny. The kids are asking for you. Call me now. I finished my coffee, left a generous tip, and headed to my private yoga session on a secluded stretch of beach. As I moved through sun salutations with the gentle guidance of my instructor, my phone continued to buzz in my beach bag. After yoga, I checked it casually, 23 missed calls, and a flurry of increasingly frantic texts. The final one made me laugh out loud. There's a stranger at our door saying she's the nanny? What is going on? Perfect timing. I'd planned for the professional nanny to arrive just as Sarah and Jason were preparing to leave for their couple's golf lesson. I pictured my sister's face. First confusion, then dawning realization, followed by that familiar flush of anger that always started at her neck and worked its way up to her hairline. I tapped out a breezy reply. Oh, good. Alana arrived. She's from the resort's premium childcare service. Highly recommended. Don't worry about the cost. I put it on your room account. Enjoy your golf lesson. Then I turned my phone to silent and headed to my massage appointment. 90 minutes later, I emerged from the spa feeling loose-limbed and rejuvenated, ready for my whale-watching excursion. There were 7 new voicemails from Sarah, each one increasing in volume and indignation. I listened to the last one as I walked to the marina. Megan, you had no right to hire someone without consulting me. Do you have any idea how much the service costs? Jason and I had to cancel our golf lesson because the kids were upset and confused about some stranger watching them. This is not what we invited you here for. Call me back right now. I deleted the message and boarded the catamaran, accepting a complimentary mimosa from a smiling crew member. As we sailed away from the harbor, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders, both metaphorically and literally, as I'd left my phone in the boat's secure storage locker. For the next 3 hours, I was blissfully unreachable as we glided through turquoise waters, spotting magnificent humpback whales breaching in the distance. I chatted with other passengers, took stunning photos, and felt the knots of resentment gradually loosening with each nautical mile between me and shore. When we docked at 3 p.m., I had just enough time to change into a sundress before my mixology class. I checked my phone briefly. 8 more missed calls and a text that simply read, "We need to talk. Now." I ignored it and made my way to the resort's elegant bar where I joined 15 other guests learning to craft the perfect Mai Tai. The instructor had just finished demonstrating how to layer the rum when I spotted Sarah storming into the bar, her face a thundercloud of fury. "There you are," she hissed, grabbing my arm and pulling me aside. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I calmly extracted myself from her grip. "I'm learning how to make a Mai Tai. You should try one, you seem tense." Tense? Tense? I'm way beyond tense, Megan. You disappeared all day, hired a complete stranger to watch my children, and have been ignoring my calls. We had plans. No, I corrected, keeping my voice level. You had plans for me. Plans you never bothered to discuss before tricking me into coming on this trip. Sarah's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I invited you for a sister's vacation. Really? Because so far, you've spent exactly 0 minutes with me, unless you count the 5 minutes when you handed me your children yesterday. That's not fair. Jason and I just wanted some alone time. Which you could have mentioned when you invited me, I interrupted. Instead of selling me on spa days and sister bonding that you never intended to follow through on. A flicker of guilt crossed her face, quickly replaced by indignation. So this is what? Revenge? Making us pay hundreds of dollars for childcare while you gallivant around the resort. Think of it as me enjoying the vacation I was promised, I replied, turning back to my cocktail class. Oh, and I won't be available tonight either. I have plans. Plans? What plans? Sarah sputtered. As if on cue, Daniel appeared at my side, casually placing a hand on my shoulder. Ready for the sunset ride? The horses are saddled and waiting. Sarah stared at him, then at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Sarah, this is Daniel. Daniel, my sister Sarah. I introduced them smoothly. Daniel offered his hand. Nice to meet you. Megan's told me all about you. Sarah shook his hand automatically, her eyes darting between us in confusion. We were counting on you for tonight. We have a reservation at Manta Ray. The most exclusive restaurant at the resort. Daniel nodded appreciatively. We're heading there after a ride. Perhaps we'll see you there? The look on Sarah's face was priceless, a mixture of shock, outrage, and something I'd never seen directed at me before. Respect. We need to go if we're going to catch the sunset, I said, gathering my purse. The nanny is booked until midnight, so don't worry about rushing back. I leaned in and whispered. The kids were having a great time with her when I checked in earlier. Much more fun than being stuck in a restaurant watching you and Jason make eyes at each other. As Daniel and I walked away, I heard Sarah call after me, her voice a mix of anger and astonishment. This isn't over, Megan. I turned back with a smile. You're right. We still have 4 more days of vacation left. By the 3rd day of our family vacation, word of my rebellion had spread through the resort staff like wildfire. Waiters greeted me by name, bartenders had my preferred drink ready before I ordered, and even the housekeeping staff gave me conspiratorial smiles. It seemed I wasn't the first guest to have been manipulated into a childcare role under the guise of a vacation invitation. Sarah had shifted tactics. After her initial explosion, she tried guilt, the kids miss you, bribery. Let's do a spa day tomorrow, my treat. And finally, begrudging negotiation. Fine, go do your own thing in the morning, but be back by 2 p.m. I declined every offer with increasingly creative excuses, each one involving Daniel or his colleagues. My days were filled with adventures, snorkeling at Molokini Crater, a helicopter tour of waterfalls, even a traditional luau where I was pulled on stage to learn the hula alongside Daniel, much to the crowd's delight. But tonight was the main event, the exclusive VIP dinner at Manta Ray, the resort's signature restaurant perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Sarah and Jason had been talking about their reservation for days, apparently secured months in advance through Jason's law firm connections. What they didn't know was that Daniel's conference had arranged a private section for their keynote speakers and guests. I spent extra time getting ready, choosing a sleek black dress that Sarah had once dismissively called too sophisticated for your lifestyle. I paired it with the pearl earrings our grandmother had left me, the ones Sarah had tried to claim for herself after the funeral. Daniel whistled appreciatively when I met him in the lobby. You look stunning, he said, offering his arm. Ready for the grand finale? We arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes before Sarah and Jason's reservation. The maitre d' recognized Daniel immediately. Dr. Morrison, welcome back. Your colleagues are already in the ocean view section. He led us past the main dining area to an elevated platform surrounded by glass walls that seemed to float above the sea. 8 of Daniel's fellow marine scientists were already seated around an elegant table, champagne flowing freely. I was introduced to a renowned oceanographer, a conservation filmmaker who had worked with National Geographic, and a wealthy philanthropist who funded marine protection initiatives. The conversation flowed effortlessly between fascinating research findings and hilarious stories of mishaps at sea. At precisely 8 p.m., I noticed Sarah and Jason being led to their table in the main dining section, a perfectly nice spot, but clearly not as exclusive as our elevated perch. Sarah's gaze swept the restaurant in that assessing way she had, always looking for the most important people in the room. When her eyes reached our section, I raised my champagne glass in a small toast. Even from a distance, I could see her expression freeze, then darken. She tugged on Jason's sleeve, whispering urgently while pointing in our direction. He looked over, frowned, then shrugged in that dismissive way husbands do when they don't see the problem. This only seemed to agitate Sarah further. Throughout the appetizer course, I caught her stealing glances at our table, her expression growing increasingly sour as she watched me laughing with my new friends. When the philanthropist ordered rare vintage champagne for the table, Sarah's mouth tightened to a thin line. By the main course, she could no longer contain herself. I watched as she excused herself, presumably heading to the restroom, but instead making a beeline for our section. "I'm sorry," the maitre d' intercepted her. "This area is reserved for the Marine Conservation Summit guests." "My sister is sitting in there," Sarah said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "I need to speak with her." All conversation at our table paused as everyone turned to watch the unfolding drama. "It's all right," I said to the maitre d'. "She can come in." Sarah stalked over, her smile brittle. "Megan, could I have a word? Privately? Anything you need to say can be said here," I replied calmly. "These are my friends." Her eyes darted around the table, taking in the distinguished group. "Friends? You've known them for what? 2 days? Sometimes that's all it takes to form a genuine connection," I said pointedly. Daniel cleared his throat. "Sarah, right? Would you like to join us? We could ask for another chair." Her face flushed. "No, thank you. I just needed to remind my sister that we have family plans tomorrow. The children are expecting her for their snorkeling lesson." I smiled apologetically. "I'm afraid I'll have to miss that. I've been invited on a private research vessel to help tag sea turtles. It's a rare opportunity." One of the scientists nodded enthusiastically. "Megan has a wonderful eye for photography. We're hoping she can document our conservation work." Sarah's facade cracked. "This is ridiculous. You came here for family vacation, not to play marine biologist with people you just met." The table fell silent. I could feel everyone watching, waiting for my response. "No, Sarah," I said evenly, rising to my feet to meet her eye to eye. "I came here because my sister promised we would spend time together. I came because I believed, despite years of evidence to the contrary, that you actually wanted a relationship with me. Instead, you handed me your children and disappeared." "That's not fair," she began. "What's not fair?" I continued, my voice steady but loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "is inviting someone on a bonding vacation when all you wanted was free childcare. What's not fair is booking yourself spa treatments and romantic dinners while expecting me to entertain your kids. What's not fair is treating me like an employee rather than your sister." Several diners at nearby tables were openly watching now, some nodding in agreement. Sarah's face cycled through emotions, anger, embarrassment, and finally, a flicker of shame. For perhaps the first time in our adult lives, she seemed at a loss for words. "If you'll excuse me," I said to the table, "I need some air." As I walked toward the restaurant's oceanfront terrace, I heard Daniel say to Sarah, "She's quite remarkable, your sister. You're lucky to have her in your life." Outside under the stars, with the sound of waves breaking against the cliffs below, I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. I hadn't wanted things to play out this way, but maybe it was necessary. Maybe this public reckoning was the only way to reset our relationship. Minutes later, I heard footsteps approaching. I turned, expecting Daniel, but found Jason instead, looking uncomfortable in his designer dinner jacket. "Sarah's crying in the bathroom," he said bluntly. "I think you broke her." I raised an eyebrow. "And that bothers you because—" He sighed, leaning against the railing. "Because despite everything, she's still my wife, and she's still your sister." Jason and I stood in silence for a moment, watching the moonlight shimmer across the dark ocean. Despite my anger towards Sarah, I'd always found Jason to be relatively decent, misguided in his loyalty perhaps, but not malicious. "Did you know," I finally asked, "about her plan to use me as free childcare?" He had the grace to look ashamed. "Not initially. She told me she wanted to reconnect with you." He paused. "But when I saw the itinerary she'd planned..." He trailed off, then sighed. I should have said something. Yes, you should have. I turned to face him fully. Do you have any idea what it feels like to be constantly manipulated by your own sister? To always be treated as less than? More than you might think, he said quietly. Sarah has high expectations. For everyone. Something in his tone made me look at him more closely. The successful lawyer with a perfect life suddenly seemed tired, the lines around his eyes deeper than I'd noticed before. She wasn't always like this, I said, more to myself than to Jason. No, he agreed. Success changed her. Or maybe it just amplified what was already there. He straightened up. Look, what she did wasn't right.
But those kids adore you, Megan.
They've been asking for you constantly. I felt a pang of guilt. I'm not angry at the children. They're innocent in all this. I know. That's why I'm here instead of Sarah. He handed me a room key card. We're checking out tomorrow, taking the kids to stay with my parents on the other side of the island for the rest of the week. The suite is paid up through Sunday. It's yours if you want it. I stared at the key card. Why? Call it an olive branch. Or penance. He shrugged. Sarah will come around eventually. She always does when she's wrong, though it might take a while. And what about the nanny charges? I asked, unable to resist a small smile. To my surprise, Jason laughed. Worth every penny for the look on Sarah's face when she opened the door. Besides, he added more seriously, we should have hired help from the beginning. Trying to force you into that role was wrong. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I think this version of you, the one who stands up for herself, might be the key to fixing things with Sarah. She respects strength. With that, he walked back into the restaurant, leaving me with a key card and much to think about. The next morning, I awoke to a text from Jason. We're heading out. Suite is all yours. Sarah left something for you. Curious despite myself, I made my way to the hibiscus suite. It was empty, the usual chaos of family life replaced by an eerie tidiness. On the dining table sat a thick envelope with my name written in Sarah's precise handwriting. Inside, I found a stack of receipts, the childcare charges, my excursion bookings, restaurant bills, all stamped, paid in full. Beneath them was a note. Megan, I'm not good at apologies, but I owe you one. What I did wasn't fair. Enjoy the rest of your stay. We'll talk when you get home. S. No flowery explanations, no elaborate justifications, just a simple acknowledgement. From Sarah, that was significant. I spent my final days at the resort in the luxurious suite, enjoying every amenity it offered. Daniel and I continued our budding romance, exploring the island by day and watching sunset from my private balcony by night. His conference ended the same day as my stay, and we made plans to meet up back on the mainland. On my last morning, I sat on the beach at dawn, watching the early light turn the waves to liquid gold. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, the first direct communication since our confrontation at the restaurant. Did you enjoy the suite? I considered my response carefully.
I did.
Thank you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, I'm sorry. For everything. I've been thinking about what you said. You deserved better from me. The sincerity surprised me. Yes, I did. When you get back, maybe we could have coffee. Just us. I felt a familiar tug of hope, tempered now by hard-won wisdom. Coffee sounds good.
But Sarah?
This time we set clear expectations up front.
Deal.
As I packed my bags later that morning, I noticed a folder on the desk that hadn't been there before. Inside was an itemized bill for the entire stay, the suite, the childcare, all my activities, every meal, and drink. The total made my eyes widen, $14,827.36. At the bottom, in red stamp, paid in full. I smiled, tucking the receipt into my purse. It wasn't about the money. It was what the gesture represented. For perhaps the first time, Sarah had taken full responsibility for her actions without minimizing or deflecting. When Daniel arrived to drive me to the airport, he noticed my thoughtful expression. Everything okay? Yes, I said, surprising myself with how true it felt. I think it might be, actually. As we drove away from the resort, I watched the palm trees and ocean views recede in the side mirror. I had arrived a week ago as the convenient babysitter, the overlooked sister, the reliable doormat. I was leaving as something else entirely, someone who had claimed her space, asserted her boundaries, and maybe, just maybe, reset a lifetime of imbalance. Sarah had invited me on this vacation with ulterior motives, but I was leaving on my own terms. And in the end, that made all the difference.